Hey everyone, my name's Nuzhut. I'm a primary teacher from Glasgow in Bonnie, Scotland. I've been on a journey this year that has really taught me a lot about myself on a personal level, but also as a practitioner, and I want to share a bit of that with you all today. So a little bit about myself. As you can tell, I don't have a Glaswegian accent. That's because I'm a Scouser and I moved to Glasgow when I was younger. But my parents were both immigrants in the 1970s. My dad was from India and my mum was from Pakistan. So you can imagine cricket in my house was always a big deal. But it's given me a lot of rich experiences, especially in language. Urdu, Hindi, Punjabi and exposure to Arabic. But within school, I'm often quite moved by the efforts that I see our migrant families go through. The whole new system that they need to get used to, the whole new way of doing things, we immediately tend to class them as having an additional need because they're not speaking the language that we need to teach in, English. So I often wonder, how included do they really feel as part of our school communities? Should we be doing more to try and learn from them? So this has all helped me start my journey on global citizenship. So why global citizenship? Well, as a teacher, my cultural background is a huge asset in the classroom. It helps me connect with families on a more personal basis, but also I can bring first-hand experience of language, food and dress. But on a deeper note, it gives me the understanding of the impact that culture and religion has on people from that particular region. But if I give you an example, as a young girl, I loved the tradition of henna on my hands in special occasions. However, as I got a little bit older in my teen years, I found that people started to make fun of me when I used to have henna on my hands, and as a result I stopped doing it. And why is that? It's because people didn't know enough about that tradition, and I wasn't comfortable carrying on with it until, of course, Madonna made it fashionable. However, now I teach about henna and I practice it within the classroom, which is a great thing as society is evolving and taking on more of that diversity. But global citizenship is not just about cultural diversity. It's about promoting equity in education for all our learners and wherever they are from. We need to raise awareness of global issues. What links us all together? What are the systems that are allowing us to do that? But also to analyse the systems that don't work and where we can have an impact on creating something better. There are a growing number of learners and families now in our schools that are coming from abroad, from different places across the world. What are their journeys? Let's start to include them. Their experiences should also be an asset in our classroom. So what is global citizenship? Well, Oxfam have produced this fantastic resource that allows us to teach the values and attributes of global citizenship within the classroom. They say it's about promoting a just, secure and sustainable world. But they're big words. What does that mean? It's about creating fairness and equal opportunity for everyone and taking care of the world around us. So how are we going to do that? And for me, going forward, I'm going to think about not teaching the same topic in the same way year after year. How can we change it about so it includes those values? It's about improving tolerance and understanding of others, having a greater understanding of economies and how they affect each other, for example through the fair trade. But also, the climate emergency is all to do with sustainability. And to learn more about that, make sure you check out the British Council for their Connected Classroom programme. It's a great way of raising awareness of the 17 Sustainable Development Goals, and these are things that we need to try and incorporate into our daily teaching. So what does global citizenship look like in the classroom? Well, start off with something simple. This is a scratch-off map that you can get online fairly cheaply or in craft shops. Think about including all the different countries that your children are linked to in your classroom. Scratch them off, start the conversation about how they all link to each other, how we are all linked together. So an important part of our classroom, of course, is our relationship with our pupils. And what's really important to those pupils is their own individual identity. Now, it's important to take a few minutes to appreciate that identity and if it's a name, for example, that we're not familiar with, then take those few minutes to understand how to pronounce it, where it comes from, what the background is. Make that child feel unique and special. I'll give you an example. This is how you spell my name. However, I spent my entire primary education being called this, not just by pupils, but by the teachers. Nobody thought to ask me how I wanted my name pronounced, if it was right or if it was wrong. And more disturbingly, my mum and dad didn't feel that they could correct anybody at the school. Now, why would that be? They could converse in English. The language wasn't a problem for them. But they still felt there was a barrier and they didn't want to question. That's not the environment we want our families to be coming to. That's not the only thing I was called. I was also called Pizza Hut and also Nugget.
Yummy!
Anyway, so global citizenship also means that we need to diversify our classrooms. We need to think about the resources we use. So for example, things like games. Guess Who, for example. Guess Who has lots of different names in it. However, they're not the most diverse names. And a great idea I saw recently online is to make your own Guess Who. So all the little faces will be the people in your classroom, and it helps them to connect with each other a bit better, makes them feel part of that classroom community. It means something to them. Always thinking about reading and books of different languages, having families come in and read to our children. Pupils find it fascinating when you hear a different language being read to you. Exploring different types of text, different types of script. We know that not all languages are read from left to right, for example. Film. Film is another great way that we teach literacy through. But to study camera angles or to study different types of sound and backgrounds, we don't need to stick to English only language. We can explore all of that through foreign language films as well, and learning about the different film industries across the world. Similarly, there are a lot of resources now being developed to help deepen our understanding of traditional topics. So for example, most of our learners learn about World War II at some stage, and there's an organisation in Scotland called Cultural Heritage. Now they've worked on a series of lessons focusing more on the contribution of the Indian Army, and that helps to break down stereotypes as well as deepening the understanding of what that conflict meant for everyone around the world and not just how it affected us. Also, there's a resource by the EIS Union in Scotland that focuses on the Palestinian conflict. Now that might be an interesting way of comparing it when children in secondary schools learn about the Troubles in Northern Ireland and considering a more critical way of how to solve conflicts and achieve peace. And what about sustainability? It's not just about recycling our rubbish and using less plastic. It's about incorporating those values into our daily lives. So for example, this year, when I was teaching about measure in maths, I could have asked my children to walk around the room and measure different things and measure each other, and they quite enjoy that kind of activity. But instead, we looked at eco gardens and rooftop gardens. So that meant that the children were able to explore why we have so many rooftop gardens in our big cities. They could then discuss the reasons for the lack of green spaces in big cities and what could be done to improve that. So as a result, they were able to produce fantastic 3D models, all accurately measured, showing me that they understood the mathematical concept, but also they had aspects of sustainability like green spaces, vegetable patches, solar panels in the gardens, which showed me that they also had that understanding of creating a more eco-friendly, sustainable society. Oh, and while we're on the topic of maths, when I was at school, we never talked about the Arab scholars of the Golden Age, who were at the forefront of developing the concepts that we use today. For example, Al-Khwarizmi, the father of our number system and of computing science and algebra. Algorithm is a mispronunciation of his name. Remember that guy, Robert Kilroy Silk? Do you remember what he said? we owe the Arabs nothing, what have they ever done for us? Yeah, we don't want to be raising those type of children. So you might say, well, we're doing all these things. We have Fair Trade Fortnight, we do Learning for Sustainability Weeks, we have a French cafe every now and then. But what this journey is teaching me is to really think about the impact of that. Are standalone weeks not just really a tick box exercise? How can we really embed what we are teaching those children into our daily lives? What we really need to think about is incorporating those values into our everyday teaching so that it becomes normal for our learners to think, analyse and reflect. So what about the wider impact of global citizenship education? It's about our responsibility to develop the citizens of the future. We need to keep tackling prejudice and hate. Show Racism the Red Card have some fantastic resources and lessons that you can use in the classroom to do this. Also, we need to keep understanding the impact of disadvantage in our communities, and that is something that's really coming into focus because of the global pandemic that we're all going through just now. But not only that, we really need to increase our own knowledge base as practitioners, and that means promoting more diversity within the teaching profession itself. The more diverse a profession we have, the greater understanding we have of each other, the religious, the cultural impact on our families, and that's something that's very important. But at the moment, according to the census, less than 3% of our teaching staff comes from BA&E background, and that's something that really needs to change. One of the reasons for that is that implicit bias is something that exists in all of us, and sometimes people confuse that with prejudice, but they're not the same thing. I wrote an article recently looking at subconscious bias that may exist in teachers, but again, the more diversity we have and the more understanding we have of this topic, the more we can do to combat that kind of thing. So now what? Well, to be effective global citizenship teachers, we need to keep incorporating those values into our day-to-day teaching. Let's reduce the barriers to family engagement, learn more from their experiences, involving them more in our communities, encourage good habits in sustainability, but not just for the sake of it. We need to understand the impact of what we do here and how it might affect someone else in a different part of the world, and vice versa. And let's keep promoting diversity at all levels of the profession. And thank you so much for watching this video, but I would like 3 actions from you. 1, please comment on what you thought of what I've been talking about. 2, think about how you would include some global citizenship values in a topic that you've been teaching for many years, and also spend some time exploring some of the resources and organisations that I've mentioned. Thanks again.